everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Relentless Transitions podcast. We are so excited today. Rosalind and Rosalind from Canada, and I am Teresa here in the U.S., and we're going to be talking about something today that, Rosalind, there are so many faces to us and so many things that help to make us successful. But here on this podcast, if you've never been here before, welcome. We talk about life, we talk about business, and how to be triumphant in both. And today, what we're going to talk about is meditation, a tool that we use to help us to be triumphant in life and in business. So are you ready to get into it, Rosalind?
Yes, I am totally ready, Teresa, and hopefully everybody will, at the end of this, say, I can meditate.
Yes. So we're excited. We're going to just jump right on into this topic today, because you know what? The thing is, Rosalind, that everybody's just so busy. We can get caught up in just the hustle and bustle of everything. And, if you're a business person, an entrepreneur, you might have a side hustle that is going on. So you're just like so busy. And when you're trying to manage all of that and family and other relationships on top of it, it can sometimes be overwhelming. And meditation is a tool that Rosalind and I both have used to just kind of help us to get a little bit centered. Now, Rosalind, I am not going to say that I am an expert in meditation. Now, I'm not going to say that. However, I'm happy today to just share the things that have helped me and, share some resources about how we can get more in tune.
Yeah. I think meditation can feel like a very daunting thing for people. I know when I initially started kind of dabbling in meditation, it took some time to get over my image of some skinny yogi sitting on a mountain in, a pose with his fingers up like this. And that's not, that is a form of meditation, but that's not the kind of thing we're talking about today, right? We're talking about really a practical way to use meditation, meditative thinking, that sort of thing, to balance you, basically, right? We're not talking about going to India and sitting on a mountain and humming for days on end.
However, I would entertain going to India to have this experience. Now, look, I'm going to let Rosalind speak for herself. I would certainly entertain it. However, really, today we're not really going to stress one form of meditation over the other. What we're going to share with you is just several, not even all of the methods of meditation, but just we really want you to understand what meditation is, what some of the benefits are, and how you can start to implement it in your life, in your business, to help you to just achieve a little bit more success and be triumphant and have peace of mind. All right. Exactly. So, Rosalind, why don't we start with you? What is, share with us like briefly an experience, or what your experience has been with meditation and what you found to work best for you.
Yeah. So I think, as I said, I kind of dabbled in meditation for a while, and then I had a major life crisis, and I started suffering from chronic backaches and chronic aches and pains and stuff. And I did a lot of research, and I realized that my cortisol levels were probably very high because of the stress I was going through. And in doing that research, I found a course called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. And I said, this sounds like just what I need to help me lower my cortisol levels. And prior to that, I'd used journaling as kind of a method of of meditation. And when I was doing theater in high school, uh, little did I know it, but we did meditations before all our big performances. The teacher just had us do these body scans, and I had no idea that that would have been called meditation. So this mindfulness-based stress reduction program introduced me to a lot of different methods of meditation, and now I kind of use them whenever, when the right, I guess I use them in different circumstances is what I'm trying to say. And I really have found the use of mindfulness and meditation and body scans and yoga and journaling, all of those different things that you can do. I really found that as a result, I feel healthier. I don't have that chronic pain anymore. I and I'm able to, when my brain is going crazy, I'm able to calm it. And that's the biggest benefit for me, is able to calm my monkey mind, my crazy brain. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Well, just sharing briefly for me now, I haven't, traditionally, because I'm just moving and thinking, and, I definitely consider myself to be a creative. So I'm always thinking about not only what I'm working on, but what I could be working on, or just new ideas. I get inspired by so many things. But I started using meditation just as a way to decrease stress. And, I typically say that, I'm not easily stressed, because of my background as a ICU nurse. I was used to dealing with things that were really fast paced and traumatic, and, things that for the average person would be like overwhelming. But really, also because of my clinical background, then I really started to realize that we don't really understand when we're stressed. Stress is one of those things that you can't see, that you can't smell, that you can't really taste. And you really don't know how it's impacting you until, let me see, I'm trying to put it in a nice way, but when it hits the fan, right?
Exactly. Like for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when things just get totally out of control, that's when we realize that, we're actually stressed. So it can creep up on us so easily, and so many things can cause stress. Just watching television, and having, like, if you're a person that loves to watch action packed, types of things, or scary movies. I used to love to watch scary movies, but, just all of this stimulation that can really cause stress. So just putting that into mind, I just thought, you know what? I'm sure that I'm stressed. I mean, I have to be, because I'm, trying to work. I have a business. You got your side hustle. You're trying to manage your family, maintain positive friend relationships. A lot of people asking you questions, a lot of demands, on your time. That those things have to, be impacting you. So, I found that I really wasn't a person who was taking any breaks. And so meditation is a way to just kind of take a break. So the two things that I currently do, well, I have my office assistants, my two office assistants, my dogs. So I walk with them, and I walk with them in the park. But you know what? What I found was that when I would walk with them, all I was focused on was getting this walk over with, and making sure that these dogs didn't get off this leash or drag me down, or whatever the case. And I was always thinking about what I was going to do after the walk. So I really wasn't necessarily de-stressing. The
Yeah.
walk was like a stressful thing. And then also at night, because my mind, hasn't always turned off, then all night long I might be asleep, but my mind is just
Mhm.
going and I would wake up tired. So if you're one of those people that's waking up tired, this might be just for you. So I would sleep at night and I would even say it to my husband that I'm really not sleeping well. And he would always, he tries to be so funny. He's a comedian. And he says, well, I can't tell it. But I really would wake up and I would just be so tired throughout the day. Well, what I started doing was I started meditating. So meditation, as you mentioned in the beginning, doesn't mean that you have to be sitting down in one position, chanting or deep breathing. There are so many forms. So there's walking meditation, and then just as I described, just taking some time for myself. So what I started doing was listening to either when I'm walking, either to a person that's motivational or inspirational, listening to them. And now when I'm walking, now I'm definitely a safety focused person as well. So I don't put earbuds in both of my ears. And I just always like to say that because, today we have to be mindful. And I can remember when I was growing up, they used to have commercials, about that, about not wearing headphones on both ears because you can't hear like oncoming traffic. So, I feel like when you're out in the park, if you have your ears completely covered, you're just depending on what you can see in front of you. So you can't hear people walking up behind you or someone on a bicycle or, other dogs or just. So I just think you need to always be mindful of your surroundings, especially as a woman. So, but that as a side, so that was a little sidebar. But that
Okay.
as a side, I put one earbud in, and I'm listening to either something motivational or I'm really drawn to like the sounds of water or the sounds of nature. And when I did that, then my focus stopped being on holding on to these dogs and all that stuff I mentioned before to really enjoying the walk and noticing the trees and the sky and the little creeks or streams of water that run through the park. And now it's really really exciting to walk. And then at night I do the same thing. I still don't put two earbuds in at night even though I'm inside my home, but I just put it in one ear and I can almost visually, Rosalind, see my mind going towards that music or that sound of that water or whatever it is. So I wake up definitely much more rested, and I find that I don't have those racing thoughts at night.
Yeah. 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 And I think just from our initial discussion here, everybody's getting a sense, I hope, of different practices that you can do that are different forms of meditation. And really, you have to pick what works for you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, sometimes I will sit and make sure my posture is up straight and just do breathing work.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about recognizing your breath is that in moments of high stress, if you've got call display on your phone and you are trying to avoid calls from somebody, just looking at that call display can cause you moments of stress, right? And
Absolutely.
so before you answer the phone, just centering yourself and taking 2 or 3 deep breaths, because you've practiced it as part of your meditation, your body recognizes it as a trigger to calm down, right? So,
Right.
there you can use meditation and mindfulness in so many different ways and in so many different occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what other, for me, one of the benefits is that ability to, and that's why I like mindfulness so much, is that um, in mindfulness, you're just focusing on you know, listening to the sounds outside your window, or you're focusing on cutting that onion, or you're focusing on the feel of the shower on your head. And all of that is a form of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
But the great thing about those kind of practices is that it's really helping you build your focus muscles. So, like I said, because I have practiced breathing meditations where I sit for 5 to 20 minutes just focusing on my breath, then when I'm triggered by stress, I can use that breath work that I'm familiar with to as an instant hit to calm that trigger down a little bit. So I think that's the thing. Don't be intimidated by the idea of meditation. You can use it the way Teresa does, the
Right.
way I do. Use it the way it works for you,
It
right?
works for you,
Yeah,
absolutely. So I
yeah,
think, based on what we've been talking about so far, we're kind of saying, hey, take meditation, especially if you're new to it, and give it meaning. Don't just think that it has to be, just one particular way. Give it the meaning that is going to best benefit you, and then just be open to try different methods. So if you try one method and that method doesn't seem like it was either comfortable or that it really, worked for you, now give it a chance, and but after you give it a chance, if that method doesn't work for you, that there are just many others out there to try. And then as far as the benefits, we can talk about some of those. As Rosalind said, it really allows you to become more self-aware. I mentioned that as I started to do it, I really became aware of the surroundings more than just being aware of, for safety purposes. I really started to notice the trees and how beautiful they were, and the landscape of the park itself, not just the trail that I was walking on. So it allows you to, even just in your space, to become more self-aware, which actually is very vital to any type of success, is being self-aware. It allows you the opportunity to really kind of sometimes take a step back, because sometimes, instead of just reacting to something immediately, or just staying so engrossed, especially when, it's your business and you're trying to, really get some type of project off of the ground. But on the flip side, if you're fighting for something in your family, sometimes you can just be so engrossed that you really can't, the solution might be right there in front of your face, but you can't see it because you're just so engrossed at one point. So it allows you to just kind of take a step back for a minute and just kind of, evaluate things and, re-strategize, so to speak. It allows you to focus, and I like to say, make your next best move. Not just your next move, but your next best move. And it decreases stimulation and stress, which we've been talking about. You don't want to go into your meditation playing the loudest music around and, or in the midst of like some type of crazy situation. If you can't block it out, it decreases the stimulation, decreases your stress, so that then you can kind of come out in a more focused way and get some things done. Any
yeah.
other benefits you think of?
I think I want to just expand on that a little bit. The benefits include emotional and physical. I mean, it's not just about um, about quieting your monkey mind. It actually improves your ability to handle your monkey mind, and it has been used, and more. There's a lot of research right now into using it to control chronic pain, and how, because I don't know if anybody out there has suffered from chronic pain. I have, and when you have chronic pain, that's all you want to focus on. And so by being able to learn to focus on other things, the pain actually recedes a little bit into the background. It's not a solve, it won't solve all of the problems with chronic pain, but it is a mechanism somebody can use. It improves your sleep. I mean, there are just so many health and, not just not just physical health, but mental health benefits from meditating. And I think I always encourage my clients who are in high stress jobs um, to, before they head into a meeting they know is going to cause a lot of rancor or whatever, or if they're a salesperson, before you enter that meeting, just take a few minutes of mindfulness, centering yourself, become aware of what you're breathing, become and then when you go into that meeting, when you step through that door, you're going to be way better able to focus. I can
Mm-hmm.
guarantee it. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. Now, who do you think that meditation is for?
I think it's for everybody. I mean, I know when I first started talking about um, my breathing meditations, a friend said to me, "Oh, I don't think I could quiet my mind enough to just listen to my breath," and and I tried to convince her, but I obviously was trying to convince her of the wrong sort of meditation. So it really, meditation's for anybody, but the key is finding what works for you.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? And a good indicator that you do that meditation might benefit you and that stress really might be present, even when you don't think that it is and that you think you're handling it well, is when somebody asks you to slow down and you
Yeah.
just physically can't.
Yeah.
If you are one of those people who are typically anxious or fidgety, or if you're a go getter person, like, most of us, we're go getters, especially, us in business, and even like I said, I'm not going to discount the family either because I know that family life can be super, super busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the family is a huge source. I agree with you
Yeah,
there.
so
Yeah.
we're talking, it can apply, to both. So I know there are a lot of people who they don't have a business and they don't aspire to have one, but that's why we talk about life, business, and triumph. So I think this is for everyone. And then for as far as methods, so we talked about breathing. So deep breathing can be a form of meditation, just taking a few moments to stop. We talked about walking. Who knew? But walking can be a form of meditation. Start walking.
Yeah, and
Add.
I sorry, I just want to say, but when you're walking, make sure you're focusing on the right thing,
Right,
which
right,
is just the walk. It's nothing
right.
else, right?
I
Yeah.
mean, this
Yeah.
is not, oh, I'm training for a
Yeah.
triathlon and, oh, I got to get this done in this many minutes, that kind of thing. But, walking, I was just going to say, add some music to your walk, some calming type of music or that background music, you know what I mean? That doesn't really require you to think much, that you can just listen to, but you can be aware of like other things. And walking, it doesn't have to be even going to the park. It can be walking in your house. Let's think, we're in the midst of the pandemic still, although, in different places, there's different levels of safety precautions that are going on. But no matter where you are, still the pandemic is not over. And so some people, I was speaking with a lady yesterday who told me she's now scared to even leave her house,
Yeah.
for anything. So, things have it's impacted people. So, but you can walk in your house, you can walk around in your yard. So walking is a form of meditation. What else? Yoga. We mentioned yoga
Yeah.
in the beginning. Oh, tea. I have it on my list. Tea. So tea. You see how I said that? Tea. I love tea. For you, it might be coffee, but tea is something that I literally drink every day. And what I tell people is drink it hot. Drink it hot. This elderly lady taught me this secret. And ladies, yes, it will improve your relationships as well. So if you have that guy in your life who he's also really busy and just running all around, what she taught me was introduce tea, into your relationship. So she said, she basically advised me to start offering my husband a cup of tea. And and I did start doing that, and he enjoyed it just like her husband, and it kind of became a daily thing of sitting down over a cup of tea. And so while we're drinking that tea, then we talk, we check in with one another over what happened during the day, or what are you thinking about, or what are you aspiring to, or whatever the case may be. But it gives us that time, and it is true time, because guess what? It is hard to throw back a cup of hot tea. You have to sit there for a minute. It's hard to even walk with a full cup of a hot beverage. Wouldn't you agree, Rosalind?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
whether your thing is coffee or tea, drink it hot. And so that can also be a form of meditation. Now, when I'm meditating, I don't include my husband, because I don't want him to ask me any questions, or I don't want to answer any questions. It's something that I just enjoy. I experiment with flavors. Even the other day, I was drinking it like the European way, where you add like a little milk. I mean, I just have fun with it, and it's like just kind of my little me time. My friends have caught on, so they buy me different teacups. So just make it fun, but it's like your time.
Yeah.
Any other ways?
One thing that I do, and I start almost every morning this way, and that is with my cup of coffee and a jigsaw puzzle on my iPad. And jigsaw puzzles can be incredibly meditative, whether you're doing them physically, picking up the pieces, or you're doing them on an iPad. It
Mhm,
really it's something to focus on, and it's
mhm,
something to, so I always pick a picture that just kind of draws me in. I won't do just any old jigsaw puzzle. It has to be a picture of nature usually, or flowers.
mhm.
And I find it incredibly meditative to just be
Okay.
doing that. And the other one that I really, really enjoy, that I have to admit I have not been doing enough of over the last year or so, is journaling. And when say that that is a form of meditation, I use it as, so I open the book and I just do a brain dump. It's just stream of
Mhm,
consciousness. And sometimes I'll start that with a short breath work meditation, just to calm the whole being down, the brain, the body, everything, to get it. And then I'll crack open a journal, and I'll put open a pen, and I will just stream of consciousness, whatever comes out. Um, and it's incredibly cleansing to be able to do that. And by the end, you have clarity on something that you didn't realize was bugging you, I think,
right,
because you've
right.
just let your mind play with it. So those are two things that I try and do regularly. And people would say, well, that's not meditating, but they're incredibly meditative.
Mhm,
And that's the difference. The mindfulness stuff, so when I am cooking, I tend to get stressed out. I love cooking, but I want it to be perfect, so
mhm,
so when I notice that stress level rise, I will just, say, okay, while I'm cutting this onion, I'm just going to focus on cutting this onion. I'm going to feel the knife going through the onion. I'm going to feel the tears created by cutting
mhm,
the onion, just really raising your sensory awareness to that one thing,
mhm.
um, can really stop that monkey mind from going crazy about all the things I need to do to follow this recipe properly. So
Mhm,
it's a weird
mhm.
thing to obsess about, but it's one thing I do obsess about, is especially if we haven't been doing this much because of the pandemic, but especially if we're cooking a meal for guests, I tend to get really stressed out. I love cooking, but I tend to let it really stress me out. And so being able to, because I've practiced different meditations and different meditative practices over the years, being able to, in that moment, recognize what's going on and pull on some of those tools, some of those practices, um, to actually then use those muscles of focus.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things I think is the key reason to practice some sort of meditation is how it increases your ability to pay attention to the right thing at the right time. Your focus.
Mhm. Yeah. When you were talking about journaling, I was going to say that's also a great way to quiet your mind
Yeah.
at the end of the day is if you kind of journal about your day, or take those thoughts that you have in your mind before you go to bed and just kind of write those things down.
Yeah.
That can actually that can help you as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what about, so we talked about giving it meaning, the benefits of it, who it's for, some different ways or methods that you can use to meditate. And let's talk about, like, why is this needed? I think we touched on this just a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
but talking about like why it's needed, I think just quite simply that we just get so caught up in things. And as I mentioned earlier, that we don't even realize when stress is creeping up on us. And here we are again in the midst of the pandemic. So, one of the things or a few things that I share with my clients is that, what? The pandemic has caused stress like on a whole different level, right?
Yeah.
Now, our homes, you know, maybe they were peaceful, but now, we're trying to work at home, trying to teach the children at home, trying to do just absolutely everything at home. And so there's no like break from what things that were typically things that were on the outside of the home, they're now on the inside. And so home has become, sort of a source of, I hate to say stress, but, stress.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but there are some things that we can do at home to actually allow us that time to meditate and, to regroup. And one thing is really to just kind of separate yourself, allow yourself to have some alone time. Make a contract with the people that are in your home, whether it is, a roommate, your actual mate, your significant other, children, make a contract with them. And you know what? Guess what? If you live alone, make a contract with yourself that, hey, between 7 and 8, I'm not going to, focus on these things. So between whatever time you select, I'm just using 7 and 8 as a an example. But between 7 and 8, I'm not going to be working on my computer, or I'm not going to be observing my social media, or I won't be texting, or I won't accept phone calls during that time. Make a contract and say, this time is for you. If you can't take a full hour, take 30 minutes. Choose a location in the house that's different from the location that you're in all the time. Like, I'm in here in my office and I'm in here most of the time. So when I am taking time for myself, I get up and go to a different place in the house, but I have a designated place. So it's not just any old place, but a designated place where I can definitely kind of close off and take time to not have to answer questions. I know I keep saying that a lot, but but in the work that I do, I'm talking to people a lot, or I'm doing presentations, or in when I was a nurse, I would be on call a lot. So people were constantly calling me. So you have to answer these questions and you have to think, and people are depending on you. So, and I'm sure with your family, look, if your house is anything like mine, my husband is always going, where are his shoes? Where have I seen? Where And so I'm sure your kids do the same thing. So, allow yourself to have time where you don't have to answer to anyone, and you don't have to focus on anything but yourself. You have anything else to add to that,
I think
Ross?
I'll just add to that. Something I've noticed, I've talked to about a lot, quite a few more and more people lately, actually, is, you know, and it has to do with living in the times we are, in the pandemic we are. We, um, I think people are getting tired of being resilient. And this is a whole nother topic, but if you're feeling that stress of anything, but particularly now during the pandemic, that you're tired of it all, um, finding that time to get away from it all, even in your own home, by being conscious about adopting some sort of meditative practice will help with um, that sort of, I'm tired of it all. I'm tired of the pandemic. I'm tired of working from home. I'm tired of teaching my children. I'm tired, and so it really is a great tool to use anytime, but particularly now, I think, to handle what the heck is going on in your world, right? Yeah,
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 we'll have to do another podcast about like things you can do, in the pandemic to kind of, do a refresh. Um,
yeah,
for your
yeah,
mind and for your
yeah.
space, and maybe even regain some tips on how to regain a new appreciation, for this home that has become home,
That's
work,
right.
school,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything, right?
yeah.
And then, so what about some resources for meditation? We talked about some methods that we have used, but what about resources on how you can, find out about other meditation methods, or maybe find guides on how to do effectively implement a meditation program?
Oh, there's a ton out there for sure. I mean, you can Google something like guided meditations if that's what you want to, if you want to try a guided meditation, and you will just get hundreds of hits. YouTube, there are some really, and more, there are apps out there that um, are specifically designed um, to teach you meditative practices. And so even if you're a real beginner, going to one of these apps, they will have a beginner section. If you're somebody who's practiced meditation or mindfulness regularly, they'll also have, I use one app in particular, but I know of so many others, and some of them you can have free trials for. So that's a good way to, if you're curious about meditation, find an app with a free trial. And I mean, I know they're out there, and if you want, I could name some now. I don't know, or if you want, just email us at Relentless Transitions, and you can give us, and I can give you some recommendations on. I won't tell you which one is going to be right for you, because it
Right.
depends on you, right? It's
Hmm.
kind of, meditation is a kind of a personal thing. What works best for you, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, as we're wrapping up, the last question or the last thought that we want to talk about is, how long is long enough, for a meditation? Rosalind and I have participated in some together that we were like, oh my gosh, but look, that probably meant we needed to be in there. As we've identified during this podcast, but they were like really long, or longer than we were willing to sit there. So, but how long is long enough, do you think, Rosalind?
Well, I think the key is to do it as long as it takes. for you to feel the benefits, right?
Mhm.
So if you're in the middle of a hectic day at work, take 10 deep breaths. That's a form of meditation. Take a minute. Certainly, when you're beginning to practice meditation, it's really difficult to spend
Mhm.
much more than 3 to 5 minutes on some of these meditative practices. That's okay. Gradually, you'll start building up your meditation muscles and
Mhm.
you'll be able to do it for longer periods of time. Uh, and really, it's ideally whatever works for you to calm your monkey mind,
Mhm.
to physically feel the benefits of slowing down.
Definitely.
So yeah, yeah. What
And
about
you
you?
know what? This is a great investment of your time, because guess what? You are worth it. And overall, you are the person who is ultimately benefiting from this. But if through the process you become a better person and you feel better, about yourself and about the things that are happening in your life, then that's going to flow over to your family or to those people who are in your immediate circle,
Right.
because the best us, it actually lifts other people, as well in the long run. So that's what we have for you today. Again, as we always say, Rosalind and I, we could talk and talk and talk, because we started thinking about one thing and then we're like, oh, we thought we dart over to the other thing, and we want to just stay on task today. So we hope that we have given you some great insights on meditation. And just to kind of recap what we talked about today. So we talked about, what it is. We encourage you to give it meaning. We talked about the benefits, who is for, the methods or some methods, why this is needed, gave you some resources, and even talked about how long is long enough. So you decide. But our takeaway for you today is to stop and smell the roses. I know that sounds like cliche, but when I thought about a takeaway, that's what came to mind, is actually stop and smell those roses. Sometimes we're going so fast, we didn't even notice that there were any roses out there. Like me walking through the park, I didn't even realize the creek until I started to just kind of, get more focused. So stop and smell the roses, because you are really worth it. Take time to pay attention to yourself and become more self-aware. And I'm sure that you will find a new joy in this. So that's all that we have for today. Thank you so much for being here again with us on Relentless Transitions podcast. We would love to hear from you. If you have not, please visit our YouTube channel, which is Relentless Transitions podcast. Like, subscribe, leave us a comment. And if you have some topics that you would love to hear us discuss, or you have any additional views on this topic of meditation, please send us an email to relentlesstransitions@gmail.com. So I'm Teresa. I'm signing off for now, but I look forward to the next time.
And I'm Rosalind, and thank you all for listening and hope to have you with us again.